And welcome back, everyone, and welcome if you are new to the SAIL program sessions. Um, I hope that some of our students brought some guests and family members to participate. And if you're hungry, beware, there's going to be some really yummy food made, and you will get even more hungry. Um, we have a fabulous lineup of faculty from different parts of the world that are going to showcase some meals from their countries. And the whole time we are going through our presentations, there's three different demos that will happen. So if you have questions, put them in the chat and we'll be answering as we go because we won't have time at the end for Q&A. But they do love your questions, so please don't hesitate. Our first presenter tonight is Matthias Vogel, and he is one of the faculty members in the German Scandinavian department here at the University of Oregon. He has been very involved with SAIL over the years and loves to do cooking demonstrations and is demonstrating some food from his home country of Germany, and will hopefully teach you some words and a little bit about the culture from his country. So, Matthias, are you ready for us? You are on mute. So as soon as you're unmuted, you will be with us.
I'm unmuted. Hello, guten Tag. Is everybody ready? Are you hungry? Let's go.
Go.
As Lara said, my name is Matthias Vogel, and I'm faculty in residence here at the Global Scholars Hall, and you're in my kitchen, in my apartment. I live in the Global Scholars Hall, and as Lara said, I was born in Germany. I come from Mainz, near Frankfurt, and when we were pondering what to fix for you today, and something from from the country where I was born, I thought, well, a lot of people know Schnitzel, and so we are going to make Schnitzel. First of all, whether you're muted or not, repeat after me. Guten Tag.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag.
Very good. And now repeat after me. Schnitzel.
Schnitzel.
Good. All right. Everybody who can say that by the end of the cooking session here can have a piece of Schnitzel from me. All right, we're fixing Wiener Schnitzel. Wien is a city in Austria. It's a capital. It's Viennese, Vienna. So we're fixing Viennese Schnitzel. And there is Viennese Schnitzel and Vienna Schnitzel. Schnitzel Wiener Art and Wiener Schnitzel. And the difference is originally this dish was made from veal. But if you don't know what veal is, then Google it, look around, because veal is basically baby cow. We don't really want that. So we're using pork, and that is Schnitzel Wiener Art or Viennese Schnitzel, okay? Look at these pork chops here that I got for you. These are way too thick, and it's too much to eat for one person in the first place. So what we want to do is take a good sharp knife, and without cutting your fingers, we will halve these. Okay? And I will demonstrate everything as we go along. And you don't need to be too careful about, is it going to look nice? Because the next thing, that's about how thick they should be. The next thing that we're going to do after we've cut one more, let's see. Need a big knife. Bigger knife always works better. There we go, this works better. The next thing that we're going to do after we cut these in half is we're going to pound the meat. And that makes the pork really tender and thin. Here again, this is about how thick it is right now. And I have a meat pounder, If you don't have a meat pounder, you can basically take any object with which you can hit the meat and flatten it out. That's the idea, is we're going to flatten it out. So whether you've had a bad day or a bad grade, or whether you were just anxious, you can take this and then go like this. See how thin this is getting? And that's about as thin as we want it. In German, that is Fleischklopfen. Okay, I think that's thin enough. And that tenderizes the meat fiber.
Somebody wants to know if you're using the flat or the spiky side of the mallet, Matthias.
We want to use the flat side, because if you use the spiky side, you will rip the meat apart. Yeah, I'll demonstrate. See, this is getting very, very thin. If I turn that around, all of a sudden I have this, which is, I can see you. I don't know if you can see me, but we don't want that. That's too thin. See, and that's really good enough for 4 people. Even though this one pack gave me 4 of these thick ones, that's way too much to eat. So I'm going to put these back in the fridge. Okay, next thing we want to do is salt and pepper these. So, it's not an exact science. You just go like this. And pepper in German, does anybody know? Pepper. Pfeffer. Pfeffer, exactly. P-F-E-F-F-E-R, Pfeffer. And what is salt in German? Salz. S-A-L-Z. So Pfeffer und Salz is pepper and salt. Did I tell you that English and German are basically one language family, one root? You can say house in English and a German will understand you, because the German word for house is Haus. And you can say mouse in English, and in German the word for mouse is Maus. So really easy. Salz and pepper, salt and pepper. Okay, now we've salted and peppered. And what we need to do next, now we make an egg, what's called an egg wash. So look over here. I've broken 3 eggs into the bowl, and take a fork. And just combine everything. That's good. I don't see any white anymore. The egg white and the egg yolk are nicely combined. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay. The next thing we have over here is breadcrumbs. You can take panko, that will make a really nice crust, or you can take breadcrumbs. And plain, unless you prefer an Italian schnitzel, and then you can take the Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, but I take the plain ones. And I add marjoram. And guess what marjoram is in German?
Same thing.
Same thing, Majoram. So I'm adding this. I'll take this off. About a teaspoon or so. It'll give a nice flavor. And then we just circle that a little bit, swirl it around. Just like that. You don't want to have too much because too much of the spice will burn in the pan. Okay, that's good. And now we're going to take the schnitzel, and yes, you have to just reach in with your fingers. We're dipping it in the egg white. We're going over here, and then we're turning it and running it through the breadcrumbs, and that'll make a nice bread crust for the schnitzel. The schnitzel will be breaded. Okay, now if you really like the breading around it, you can go back into the egg wash and then back into the breadcrumbs. I don't like too much of it because then you can't taste the meat. Remember that we've pounded the meat thin. And that also means that when we fry it in a nice hot pan with oil, that we don't need to fry it for so long because the meat is thin and it'll fry very quickly. So see this going very quickly. It's not a big production, big deal. So I'm just...
While you're cooking, we had a couple people comment on how nice your kitchen is. And we actually learned about arcs today. And Matthias is one of the faculty who live in one of the dorms on campus. This is the Global Scholars Hall. So if you were to live in a dorm or participate in an ARC, you'd have someone like Matthias there that lives there full time as one of your support folks.
Yes. And in fact, every Sunday, I will have students over here for coffee and cake. That's a German tradition. Of course, in the current situation, we can't do that, but I've lived here 2 years. In the last 2 years, almost every Sunday, I've had students here Sunday afternoon who had a cup of coffee with me and who ate some cake with me. And we just talked during that time. So, all right, the next thing that we're going to do, and by the way, that's a great support system to have somebody in an ARC, an academic residential community. The students all studied similar things. I lead the Global Engagement ARC, I'm at the Global Scholars Hall, but it's a great support mechanism to have a faculty here living with you. If you have questions, faculty can answer that. Faculty can help you find resources, etc. Okay, back to cooking. So the next thing that we're going to do is, I've already started on it, is we're going to make a pasta to go with the schnitzel. And that's a very traditional German thing that's called Spätzle. So everybody, repeat after me. I'll say it again first. Spätzle.
Spätzle.
Very good, very good. Okay, these are not as beautiful as Italian pasta, I have to say. I know Gerardo is going to be there later, but these are Southern German pasta. You need a pound of flour, which a German pound is 500 grams. So an American pound is about 450 grams. You just basically take a pound of flour. It doesn't really matter if it's 50 more or 50 less. You add 5 eggs, and you add 2 cups of water. And there's your pasta. It's a little lumpy yet. I have to go and beat it a little more. Or if you have a machine, that'll go a whole lot easier.
Asked about what kind of, what are good entry-level cooking tools to have. And Matthias isn't a professional chef. He's a German faculty who loves cooking. So you can do your best answer, Matthias.
You need good knives. That's that. If you want to cook, you need good knives. So this, if you start with a small knife, that's really a filleting knife. You can carve meat off the bone. You can take fish off the bones with this. So I didn't start out with the right knife, because for something like this, you need a chef's knife. This is not really even a chef's knife. That's a Japanese knife, but a large knife. That is, it has to be easy in your hand. There has to be a good balance. See, I'm basically balancing this with my index finger over here, and so so that you don't want to do this all the time, because eventually that'll hurt your knuckles, your hand. You get carpal tunnel if you do this a lot. And when you cut, and I'll show this over there at the salad, I'm fixing a salad also, you have to have the right grip on the knife. And so if you do a lot of chopping, the knives have to be sharp, so you need good knives. Okay, so the next thing, this dough is ready. That's all it is. 500, so a pound of flour, 5 eggs, 2 cups of water, a little bit of salt, and then you add a little bit of nutmeg. That's it. So we're gonna let this sit for a while now. And you always want to have vegetables with it. German cooking traditionally has more meat, but it also always has fresh vegetables. Traditional German fridges are about the size of a dorm fridge. My mother would go buy fresh food, fresh salads and vegetables almost every single day, because you didn't want to store them in the fridge. If a tomato's in the fridge for a whole week, maybe it's genetically modified or something, but we would always go and buy things fresh. So I bought some lettuce for you already, and I chopped it up, regular lettuce. It's fine. And we need to wash this. And then I don't have a salad spinner, but you don't need to waste money on it. You can just do this and let it drip dry. Okay. So then the next thing, cameraman, if you can come around. A lot of people buy ready-made dressing. That's a waste of money, and it's unhealthy, usually. Dressing for the salad, vinegar. I have apple cider vinegar. That's why it's so dark. And you need salt and pepper. And I don't measure these. I just go like this. But if I had to, I'd say it's about a teaspoon. And then pepper, about a half a teaspoon. And then a little bit of sugar. My grandma always said, wo immer man sauer macht, Essig dran macht, muss man auch Zucker dran machen. In other words, wherever you put vinegar, you have to put a little bit of sugar. So like that would be fine. Okay, and then you mix this first. Can anybody tell me why you want to make salt and pepper first? Salt and sugar first in the vinegar. Let's think. Well, salt is natrium, and chloride. And those two atoms will split. They will dissolve in the water. So vinegar is mostly water. So if you mix this before, you don't need to use as much salt or sugar in your salad dressing. If you put the oil in right away and start mixing and then add salt and sugar, then you're going to have to use a whole lot more, and you'll end up with high blood pressure and diabetes and whatnot. So do this first. So this is good, and now we're adding a little bit of olive oil. And I will use my cook's finger. It needs a little bit of water. And that's it. That's our dressing, and that's enough for the whole salad. Now, a salad doesn't need to be elaborate and lots of stuff in it, but if you want to, you could add a tomato. And see, this is now where you need a good knife. I hardly hold it, and I go like this. See how this cuts through? So like this, and then yay. And if the tomato is soft, as it's supposed to be, you really want a sharp blade, because otherwise it's just going to tear the tomato apart and you have mush afterwards. Okay, herbs give the salad flavor. So here we have a little bit of parsley and a little bit of dill that I have pre-washed already. So we're going to roughly just chop this. And see, you want to be careful not to chop like this, because then you cut the fingertip off, but to chop like this. And this knuckle here guides the blade. Just keep it right here rather than doing this, okay? Okay, and that's good enough. Good, and then maybe a little bit of onion. And that's how you can cut that fast, if you can guide the blade with your finger. All right, that's good enough for now. We're going to add the lettuce on top, but we're not going to mix it yet, because now we're going to fix the pasta and the schnitzel.
Matthias, while you're cooking, tell us a little about some of the traditions in Germany around dinner. Is it a similar, is it 6 o'clock in the evening? Is that standard, or what are the...
Well, it's funny that you ask, Lara, because it is not standard to eat in the evening. It is a meal like this would normally be eaten in the afternoon.
So
and there we go.
Typical to have 2 meals a day then, or?
People will have breakfast. They will have a large lunch, and for evening dinner, they'll just have some bread, like an open-faced sandwich. Okay, there, and see the schnitzel's not sizzling, so my pan was not hot enough. So while the pan is heating up, when the pan is heated up, I'll add the next schnitzel. In the meantime, we'll fix the pasta. And this here, this little thing, if you don't have that, it's fine. It's fine, because you can just as well just spread the dough on a cutting board and then take a knife and scrape it in. But in German, this is called ein Spätzle Vogel. And you put the dough in here at the top. And, whoops. And then you move it, and I'll hold it up. See how the pasta is dipping in?
Wow.
And depending on how thick or thin you've made the dough, your spätzle will be either longish, which is in Baden-Württemberg, where Freiburg is, closer to France. They will have long noodles. And in Bavaria, where Helmut Plant is from, who is going to teach German language lesson with me tomorrow, they mostly have shorter spätzle, like what I'm doing there right now. And this pasta is done when it comes up to the top. So that's that, okay? So we're gonna finish frying the schnitzel here. And in the meantime, I'll mix my salad. And you know why I haven't mixed the salad before? Because the vinegar will break down the lettuce. And if you wait for too long, if you mix it too early, and then you'll have very limp lettuce. And what's salad in German?
Salad.
Salat. Can everybody say that? Salat.
Salad.
Salat.
Wow. You guys
Lot.
German already? All right, the pan's taking a while to get hot over there. We'll make more pasta. And
Salad.
then and then you take oh, where did I put it? Oh, here.
So Schnitzel and Schnitzel and salad. This is like a common household meal in Germany. Is that right?
It is, yes. And Germany is about the size of Montana. So it's a whole lot smaller than the United States. And if you're raising beef, you need big grassy areas, which with 80 million people living in a country the size of Montana is very difficult to achieve. So Germans don't raise as much beef traditionally for eating, but they raise pork. Pork is a whole lot less area intensive. And look, this is the pasta. Once it comes up, you just take it out.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
And then when you've taken out one batch, you make your next one. Let's put it over here and let it cool. Meantime, the schnitzel is going. And that won't take that long. See? Whoops. Okay, I need another.
That's beautiful. We're all coming over, Matthias.
So when it starts getting golden, like this on both sides, it's just about done. Okay? So I know that I'm running out of time, and I'll start dishing up and add a schnitzel. Then we'll put the finishing touches on, and then who's taking over, Lara?
Paolo Daniele will be after you.
Oh, Paolo's taking over.
Yes,
Wonderful.
from Italy. So, yes, but this is amazing and beautiful. How do we say thank you in German?
Well,
Danke.
we say danke.
Danke.
Okay. There's the salad. Don't get too close. There's the salad.
Ooh,
Look at that. That's ready.
wow.
And see, did I tell you that you don't want to have the whole pork chop? It's too much. Look how full my plate is already. Okay. So now we take a little bit of the pasta. And we add that over here. Oops, a little too much. And now last thing, something that you absolutely have to do is you need to cut you need a clean knife. You need to cut a lemon. I'll just cut my lemon up here. And you want to add a slice of lemon to put on top. And then when you're eating, you take your pork and you just do this, and you spread the lemon juice a little and turn it around, and it'll taste very, very good. Okay, so you've already, Lara has already told you how to say danke. And now, do you know what you say when you're sitting down to eat?
What?
Guten Appetit.
Guten Appetit.
Good.
So with that, I will say goodbye. Everybody, guten Appetit.
Guten
Guten
Appetit.
Guten
And,
Appetit.
Yeah, and it means just what it sounds like. Good appetite. So dig in. There you go. Dig in. Auf
thank you.
Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Tschüss.
Danke.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Woo.
Enjoy dinner.
Enjoy your dinner.
Okay.
Yes.
Danke.
Bye, Matthias.
Bye-bye.
And now we have Paolo Daniele. Are you with us, Paolo?
I am. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, we can. Straight from Italy. But you're,
I wish. Straight from Springfield, Italy.
Oh, wonderful to have you. Well, welcome to our sales students. And
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
So my name is Paolo, and I am an assistant director at the School of Journalism and Communication. And originally, I'm from Turin, Italy. Has anyone been to Italy before?
No.
Has anyone? Yes. Okay. We have a few. Anyone have had Italian food before? Yes.
Yeah.
I would expect so. Very cool. Well, today I want to introduce you to a little bit of my culture and around surrounding food. Since you already got a great introduction from Matthias, you're getting hungry, but you're gonna get hungrier and hungrier. So I warn you. So a small aspect of my culture, of my Italian culture, is food language. Now, we are all familiar with body language, right? Using your body, expressing yourself with our bodies. A lot of people know that Italian people like to use their bodies a lot, right? They, for example, something that people, like even my wife tells me that I use my hands all the time. Like, oh, what do you want? Or I like to kiss people all the time. Italians like to kiss people all the time. But that's because we have a lot of love, right? So, and we also have that in our food. So we use food language to express love. But let me explain to you why. So when Italians wake up in the morning, the first thing that they think about is, what am I going to have for lunch? And the number two they think about is, what am I going to look like? So they care about what they want to eat and what they're going to look like. This is called bella figura, nice figure. And for Italian people, this is fundamental things. But food, of course, is the number one thing, I think. It's a fundamental part of the day. And for that reason, it dominates our way of communicate and living life. So Italian food language is an expression of love. And let me give you some examples of how that affects life in general, life in Italy and life of Italians. So the first thing, maybe you already know this, but cooking for their families is the way that Italian moms and Italian wives show their family members how much they care. So that's why in Italy, we like to stress the idea of eating homemade things like homemade pasta. And if we don't eat it, we miss it like crazy. And we just reminisce of the days that our grandma used to make that homemade pasta for us. The second thing is, for example, having meals together. That tells how much we care about each other. Since having a meal is an intimate pleasure, right? Italians tend to share this moment only with the people they love, the people they like, and the people they respect. If that's not the case, most Italians like to eat by themselves. So even a casual meal with friends is an important thing to do. It's an important time in life, and it identifies a special time. The third thing, when an Italian man asks out another woman on a date or has to organize a business meeting, the first thing that they think about is not what they're gonna do. The first thing they think about is what restaurant they're gonna go to, okay? So the restaurant choice is very important since it has a double role. The first one is to convey how much one appreciates the company. And the second thing is how special the moment is going to be. And this is also why meals can take a long time. Even something as simple as a coffee. You know, we don't go around with the coffee in your hand. You know, it's not like Starbucks. You just go around and drink coffee. No, no, no. In Italy, you sit down at a cafe with your little cappuccino, with your espresso, and you sit there with your friend or by yourself and you just enjoy your surroundings. You just relax and stay there for a long time. Who cares if you have work? No, I'm just kidding. Italians do care, but not as much as Americans, that's for sure. That's why this is called la dolce vita, the sweet life. You just sit there, relax with your sunglasses, watch time go by, watch people, and enjoy the beautiful churches and architecture around. If you've never been to Italy, please go. You're gonna enjoy just doing that. No need for museums. Just sit down, relax, have a nice cup of coffee or tea or wine if you're 21, or in Italy if you're 18, and then you can enjoy that. The number 4 thing that I think is super important is food preference. Food preference is like a magic mirror reflecting one's inner self, because in Italy, food choice can tell a lot about one's personality and life values, right? And then the fifth most important thing, that food conveys culture and history. So in Italy, people think Italy as one culture, but in reality, Italy is a fruit of centuries of invasions, centuries of different cultures mixing with each other, European, German, Slavic, African culture, all coming together year after year after year. And what comes out is a big diversity of cultures and histories and even language within the country. So where I'm from, for example, is super different from Sicily or from Rome. And to this day, there are really big differences between how people talk and how people act. But one thing that brings all these regions have in common is food that is simple. Food like what we call as poor people's food. And one example of that I'm gonna show you today is bruschetta. Now, a lot of Americans call it bruschetta or bruschetta or something like that, but that is not the correct way to pronounce it. So if you have a waiter that tells you, oh, would you like bruschetta for appetizer? You can show off your Italian skills and tell them, I'm sorry, sir, or I'm sorry, ma'am. You call it bruschetta. Okay, can you say that with me? Bruschetta.
Bruschetta.
Very good.
Bruschetta.
Perfect. Now you can survive in Italy just by saying that. No, I'm saying that because if you say bruschetta, then they'll know immediately that you're a tourist. Okay, nothing wrong with being a tourist, of course. So to do bruschetta, I am going to show you the basic ingredients, and let me use some fancy technology here to share my screen. And I'm sorry, I don't do this very often, so here we go. All right. Bruschetta, can you see that? I even wrote the pronunciation just in case you don't get it, but you're smart high school students. So the ingredients are very simple: olive oil, garlic, balsamic vinegar, salt, basil, tomatoes, and bread. It's very simple, very simple. Now, bruschetta is, as I mentioned before, it's a poor people's food. And what that means by that is that bruschetta is a very ancient food. They say that it originated with the Romans. And, you know, Roman people were generally not very wealthy. There's the very few 1%, for example, that were super wealthy, but the rest of the people really worked hard every day. They had to really scrounge up for food. They had to work really hard. So they were very frugal. So when they had bread, they made sure that they used it all. They did not throw anything away. And when the bread got stale, then they would just basically barbecue it. They would cook it on the fire, so it became a little crunchier and edible. It would not be used as a paperweight because it was so hard. So I'm gonna show you the basic ingredients. I'm gonna use this fancy. Oh, look, the Italian flag! Ta-da! So you got basil, which you can grow very easily from your garden, or you can get really cheap at the store. You got garlic, and you got tomato, okay? So very simple stuff. And then I had some bread. I already pre-toasted it because I had no time to toast it live. I think you get bored if you do that. But I just toasted a slice of bread. But as I said, you can use any sort of bread. In this case, I use sourdough bread because I particularly enjoy it. All I did was toasted it. But if you have a barbecue, you can barbecue it. You can even put it on a little pan just to make it a little hard. So it's very easy. Now, all you gotta do is cut the tomato. So Matthias already showed you the safe way to use a fancy knife like this. Mine is not as fancy as his, but it looks like it, and it does the job. But you don't need to have a fancy knife. But all you need to do is just slice the tomato really into small cubes. Okay. So this is an example. Okay. I tend, as you know, tomato has a lot of seeds, has a lot of liquid. I'm not a big fan of that, but just for the sake of time, I'm just gonna remove it here and be very rough, but just cut it small. Now, one interesting thing about tomatoes is people think that tomatoes are typically Italian, right? Because you use tomato for sauces, use it for this, for that. But do you guys know where tomatoes are actually from? Where are tomatoes from?
Mexico, South America.
That's right. Tomatoes are not Italian at all. Tomatoes made it to Italy probably in the 17th, 16th century. So way, way after they were popular here in America, of course. So bruschetta in the past used to not look like this at all. It used to be simply just bread, olive oil, and garlic, really. That's all. And then later, just to make it a little fancy, when tomatoes were a cool thing in Europe, people started adding tomato on everything. And in particularly, the rich people in Rome, they started using tomato and adding to all their food. So this is how we ended up using tomato in bruschetta. But really, bruschetta just means toasted bread. And on this bread, you can add whatever really you like, really whatever you like. And in Italy, this is an example of antipasto or aperitivo, which is basically food that you have between 6 and 8 p.m. after work or after homework, before dinner. And you have this as an appetizer. It's very easy to do. And look at that. Some tomato. You got your basil, which I washed, by the way, so this got no bugs. Oh, wait, there's a bug right here. Go away. Okay. I'm gonna cut it. Does it matter how you cut it? No, not really. Then you have garlic. Ta-da! Garlic is important. You just have to use it. You can use it anywhere you want, but for this particular thing, all you need is just a little clove. So from this, I just broke one clove out. I'm gonna clean it up. Yep. And what we're gonna do is not use the actual clove, the actual garlic. We're not gonna do that. What we're gonna do is that we're just gonna use the juice of the garlic, okay? So if you cut a garlic, you'll see that it's wet. It has its garlic juice. Don't drink it if you plan to kiss somebody. So, but what you're gonna do instead is you're going to rub it. You're gonna rub it on the bread. And why you do that? So that you give the bread a little bit of a kick, right? So you got a little piece of bread. What you wanna do is just wanna cut it up into small, little cute appetizer, little like pieces. So I cut it into little pieces, okay? And then what I do, I get my little garlic and I'm just gonna rub it. Da, 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 da. Okay, just rub it, rub it, rub it. Smells so good, smells so good. But don't put too much. I mean, you can if you want. I mean, it's really up to you. The thing about bruschetta is got the freedom for you to just do what you want in terms of the ingredients. You want it garlicky, then add more garlic. If you want more basil, definitely add more basil. It's up to you. Now, next, what you want to do is you want to marinate the tomatoes and the basil. You want to put it all together, mix it all together. I recommend you put it in a bowl. And then what you want to do is just mix it up with olive oil. Okay, I got some example here from Costco. It's not a plug-in, but I'm just saying this is virgin olive oil, which is the best oil that you can use. and then balsamic vinegar. Balsamic vinegar, make sure it's from Italy too, because that's really the best balsamic vinegar. And the salt doesn't have to be from Italy. The salt in the US is just as good as anywhere else in the world. But what you want to do though is to marinate the tomatoes and the basil. So I already pre-made it. I pre-made it. Okay. Got a little bowl. I put everything on it. I put the tomato, I put the vinegar, I put the olive oil, the basil, just mixed it up. And you know, I left it in my fridge for about an hour, but really you can just put it all together. A lot of people ask me, how much salt do I have to put? I usually don't put too much salt, mainly because I really like the vinegar flavor and the garlic flavor to kind of come together. But some people like it saltier. That's fine. Italians like their food really salty. And that's why a lot of them have high blood pressure, but such is life. At least they're happy, right? They have the dolce vita to make up for that. Now, once you have this nice mixture, it smells really good and delicious. Now you're getting hungry. What you're gonna do, simply spoon it over or use the fork. I like to use the fork so that I don't put too much oil on the bread. Otherwise it becomes too soggy. So just put it on top. Voila. Now you got the little appetizer, a little bruschetta for you to serve to your family, to your friends. And it's such an easy thing. So whenever you go to the store and you have to pay $10 for this, man, this costs like $1 to make. So strongly recommend you to get the skills to make it. And you know, you can again put anything that you want. A lot of people put mozzarella cheese on top of that. Some people put other veggies on that, like a little cream. You can put smoked salmon with cheese. Really, you can put anything that you want. You know, this is more like the Roman style. They're from Rome, and it's very popular in the US because of all the Italian immigrants that came to the US, usually came from Rome and Sicily and Calabria. But it's delicious. I love it. You know, it's a very simple thing for you to do. You have a question? Yes, Alex.
Does Alex have a question? We have just been getting a lot of chat about how amazing this looks and loving hearing all about Italy. So Paolo, this has been such a treat for us.
It's a treat for me. I get to eat this. Sorry, guys. Yeah. If we were all together, I would make it for you. Oh, well. As we say in Italy, buon appetito.
Buon appetito. And how do we say thank you?
Grazie.
Grazie. Everybody, let's say grazie to Paolo.
Grazie.
Grazie.
Prego.
We will see you soon, Paolo. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
My ego.
Ciao. All right. We have, oh, what a fun night. Germany to Italy, and now we're going to Britain with the British Baking Show. So we have Kathy Brundan will be with us next. She's actually one of our faculty in the English Literature Department. But she is from Britain and loves to bake. So well, hello, and where are we, Katie?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, good to see you. So my name's Katie Brundan. I'm wearing my London apron, and this is my daughter Aisha, and we're going to do a version of the Great British Baking Show. And Polly is going to go down right now. So today we are going to make you, I'm going to do the signature bake. Oh, yes, hello. I'm going to do the signature bake. And we're going to be turning apples and blackberries, which I picked both. I picked both the apples and the blackberries earlier this morning. And Aisha's going to do the technical challenge. Oh, she's going to make something that she has never made before, and she's going to use Mary Berry's recipe. So let me grab it. Okay, Aisha, This is your recipe. Do you want to tell us what it is? It's real proper custard. Have you ever had custard before? Nope. No. Have you any idea what custard is?
It's sort of like not very fancy creme brulee.
It's kind of creamy. And it's very popular in England. They have these packets that you just add milk and it turns into this sort of yellow, kind of, creamy stuff. But I don't really like it because they used to give it to us at school and it was like cold and lumpy, and we used to have it for school lunches a lot. You guys don't get dessert for school lunches, do you really? Probably not, but we always got dessert. And cookies. Oh my God, you're so lucky you got cookies. Wow, we always had custard. They gave us real cheap stuff like liver and spam and kidneys, those kind of like offals. And then they'd always put a dinner, which was custard. So that's why I don't ever eat custard, because it reminds me of my school lunches and they were really horrible. Anyway, do you think you're going to be able to manage that?
I'll give it a go.
Okay, she's going to go over there and give it a go, and we'll come back to her in a moment. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about...
Is this the milk and the cream?
Yes, that's the milk and the cream. So I measured some of it out for her. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about blackberry and apple crumble. First, I'm actually going to show you what it looks like at the end. That is what it looks like at the end. That's what I made earlier. That's a gluten-free version, so it's not exactly the same. But it takes a little bit of cooking. So I put the oven on to 400. And I've given you a recipe from the BBC website. So first thing we have to do is to cut up our apples. So traditionally then, okay, where's the here? So traditionally we always have to use these rather amazing apples that are called Bramley apples. So you stick in like 2 or 3 of these Bramley apples, but you can't buy them here. They're these huge, I mean, they are really big. We used to grow them at home. So we ate a lot of crumble because we had a lot of these apples. So they're cooking apples and they're green. So I basically picked some off our tree. They're still a bit sour, but that's a good thing. So you want, I mean, the recipe says 2 pounds. I haven't quite done 2 pounds because I think I haven't quite got a big enough dish for that. So probably, 6 to 8 smallish apples is good. And we're just going to cut them up. And when they're cut up then, we pop them into a bowl and we're going to put some lemon juice on them. Like that. There's the lemon juice on our apples. Okay. Then the next thing we have to do, basically, it's pretty easy. I'll just cut up a little bit more of this apple. We're then just going to layer this crumble together. So basically, you can make this crumble with anything. In England, blackberry and apple is really popular. So is rhubarb and apple. That's really, really yummy. And rhubarb and ginger, rhubarb and orange are also really popular. Just apples. So you basically do this with whatever fruit you have. So because we had these apple trees in our backyard at home, I used to eat crumble for breakfast, basically, which is really yummy. So people have probably had crisps. Have you had a crisp before?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Has anyone ever had a blackberry and apple crisp? So this is the moment, and it's definitely a good time of year to do it because, of course, the blackberries are out. So now I'm going to grab my dish here. I might try and angle this down. So what we're going to do basically is start layering a little bit of apple with the lemon juice with our blackberries. And I think I need, oh, you're doing your eggs, are you? Okay, let's maybe pop over here. I'm going to layer the blackberries in a minute, but we need the scales. And she's going to just show us what she's doing here. She's actually heating up some milk and some cream there. And next is the egg separation for your custard. So custard is basically eggs and milk, essentially. So how did you do that then, Aisha?
You crack the egg.
Okay.
And then you get it so that you sort of drip it and you get the yolk in one of these. And
Okay.
then you sort of pass the yolk back and forth between half of the cracked egg. So you get all of the yolk, the yellow down in
The white.
bowl, the white down the bowl. I know what eggs are called. And then you can dump the yolk where you want it to be.
Okay, so you
is what I
need
did.
the yolk, and then we can use the whites for something
Meringue?
else. Meringue. Yes, that would be a really good thing, wouldn't it? So
Blackberry
we
meringue, that'd be fun.
ooh, blackberry meringue. We could do that, couldn't we? Okay, so in the
Don't do
meantime,
it.
so she's
Try not
basically
to- Oh,
separating
hang on.
eggs.
I didn't.
She did them wrong. I think it's fine. I should just remove some of the white. It'll be
Cool. I got my bowls mixed up.
fine. Okay, let's leave her to mix up some bowls. In the meantime, we are here layering our crumble. So I'm using about a pound of blackberries. I think it's about a couple of these punnets here. And the next thing is, what I went over there for is the scales, because now I need to weigh out my sugar. So in England, people basically use weights. So we don't usually use cups. But this actually, let me get my conversion. This is about a cup of sugar. But I'm going to weigh it out because I always weigh everything out. And I don't have that many cups either. So I'm going to weigh out about 6 ounces of sugar here. So that's about a cup. If you have sweet apples, you might want to use a little bit less. So then I get to layer my sugar. And then I'm going to do a bit more layering, stick more apple in. And then, oh, Connie's meowing. She wants to be part of it. And then I'm going to put my blackberries in and then the rest of my sugar. So that is like super easy. And the good thing is that it's meant to have a soggy bottom. So when Paul comes along and says, hey, but your crumble has a soggy bottom, you say, it's supposed to. That's what it's meant to be like. So I will now need to start making, if I can angle that, my crumble. So for this, I'm going to need some flour. So this is 8 ounces of flour. That's 1 3/4 cups of flour. And let me check how much butter I'm going to need on that. I need 6 ounces of butter. And we're going to cut the butter up, basically. We cut the butter up. And then I'm going to mix this to make little breadcrumbs. And I know that in America, people use knives. You use pastry knives. But people in England never heard of pastry knives. So we always do it by hand. So I'll show you the by hand method, because I don't have any pastry knives and I don't know how to use them either. So this is pretty easy.
Katie,
Yes.
is it typical to have, well, what's the meal format? Do people have 3 meals a day? Do they typically have a dessert with dinner? What's normal?
You know, I think people are very varied, and they always have been, even throughout history, because I studied the Victorian period. People would have the most weird dinner times and meal times. It was just completely random and bizarre. So most people would eat a main evening meal, and they would definitely have dessert at the weekends. You know, and Sunday lunch is a really, really big meal, and you might go to the pub, and pubs do really good food. So you'd go out and have a nice drink and have a really big meal with normally roast beef or something. And then you always have to have a dessert. So that would be the weekends, is that you would have the dessert. Most people in the week wouldn't do. But, you know, people are very individual. So my mother-in-law is quite funny. She has breakfast, and then at 11 o'clock, she has 11's, which is a sticky bun, basically. She has coffee and a sticky bun. And she has a main meal at 1 o'clock, which is her lunch. And then she doesn't have like a big dinner, and I think she just has tea. So then at like 4:30 or so, she has her tea, which is cake, tea and cake. And that's what she does every single day. So every day she has sticky buns and tea cakes.
What did you call the sticky buns? You said.
Oh, like there's this kind of, I don't know what kind of sticky buns, pastries, I guess. You call them pastries, would you? Danish pastries, or what do you call them, Aisha? The sticky buns that.
Not quite cinnamon rolls.
Cinnamon rolls, those kind of things, you know, pastries. So I'm basically rubbing this in with my fingers. Sorry, as I'm talking. So you want to rub it on your fingertips. You don't want to get it in the palms. You can see that it's on my tips. My fingers are not in my palms. I'm not mushing it. So I'm just doing this and getting lots of air into it. And that's basically how I'm making my little breadcrumbs. So it's going to end up looking like little tiny breadcrumbs. And ideally the butter should start off cold, and I took it out, so it's a little bit warm, and it's like 80 something degrees in here. So we're kind of baking here. So let's go and see how Aisha is doing over there, because I'm pretty much nearly done over here. Let me now just get some butter on my computer. So Aisha, how is this going? Is that simmering? Not quite.
We're just going to turn it up.
Turn it up a tad.
The low heat.
So what have you done with the eggs? And you put the egg yolks in there.
With sugar and corn flour.
How much sugar?
An ounce.
Oh, so it's not very much, is
Not
it?
very much sugar.
A little bit of cooked sugar and
2 tablespoons of corn
two
flour.
tablespoons of corn flour. Okay.
And then I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to be doing with this.
So then you're basically waiting for it to simmer, aren't you? For it to go, ooh, it's almost starting. You need to keep stirring it, I think.
Yes, right.
Mary Berry might say that, does she? Does she say keep stirring?
No, she doesn't give any
Oh.
hints to the technical.
Oh, of course she doesn't.
You've got to leave me to
It's
make
the
all the final
technical.
mistakes.
Okay, so
Should we call it?
it's almost there. And then what does she say you do with the hot milk then?
Let's see.
Okay, what does Mary
Pour
say?
hot milk and cream onto the eggs and sugar, whisking all the time.
Okay. Do you want to show us that?
Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna,
Yeah. Okay.
Let's just.
I don't know if you can see it. She's slowly. Okay, and she's whisking. I don't know if I got the camera angle right.
If you come around the other side, maybe.
That's good.
Yes. Oh, very good. Yes. This is the hot milk and cream. It was about like 500 mils of milk and about 50 mils of cream. Of course, we don't have the right kind of cream, but that doesn't matter.
Okay, hang on, the next bit.
Okay, so now she's
Return to the pan.
Oh,
Let's
return to the pan.
A low heat.
Lower heat. Okay. Return to the pan.
Oh dear. It's okay. I'm wearing an apron.
Slop. Sorry, trying to get that angle right. There we go.
There we
Okay.
go. Cool. Now what?
What's it say?
Stir until thickened.
Okay. So as you heat it then, the corn flour should make that a little bit thicker. And then your custard should be done then.
Oh.
Well, I mean,
Was
if
it
it's for school dinners, it's like really thick and lumpy, but we're not doing it for school dinners. So we're gonna make it just a little bit thicker, however it comes out. So I nearly finished this. Basically over here, I've done my crumble topping pretty much. Just give it a couple bits of extra. And then the next thing I've got to do is add a couple of ounces of sugar. So it's like 1/3 of a cup of sugar. And then a little bit of about a cup of muesli or oats. So I'm just going to pop in some oats there. So,
So Katie, we are, oh my gosh, look at that. Beautiful. We are going a little over time.
Okay.
Which just, you can
Basically, I'm going to put the oats there and the sugar and put it on the top, and it turns into that. And then Aisha, Aisha here, when that thickens, that will be the custard. And people in England eat their desserts with custard, basically. That's what they do. They don't, I mean, sometimes they eat it with ice cream, but you know, custard is a real favorite. And so it should go kind of nice, creamy yellow color Is it thickening a little bit?
Not really.
But it will. Do you want to show the camera the color? There you go. Yeah, so it's definitely kind of yellow. And that is what you have for your dessert. So this is actually, the crumble is a really easy thing for anybody to make with the blackberries that you just pick by the creek, and with any apples that you have or any kind of fruit that you have. So there you go, Lara.
That's amazing. And then you just pour the custard on top.
Pour the custard on your slice. Yes.
Wow. Well, I feel like you have taken us to London, and listening to
Oh,
you
yeah.
it's just been wonderful to be in your kitchen with you.
Thank
So
you.
this was really fantastic. I am so appreciative. And I hope people go out and try some of these recipes this evening.
Yes.
And I hope you get 2 crumbles for breakfast and lunch and dinner tomorrow.
Definitely.
Oh, how do we say thank you in London? Same as we say thank you.
Cheers. You say cheers.
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 Oh,
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome.
Cheers.